another episode of Bravo Charlie's. Today we're going to make chocolate chip cookies, and I have my daughter with me to help today, Jessica. So chocolate chip cookies are a simple thing to make, but there are a few tips that you need to know to make your chocolate chip cookies great. For instance, on the back of the Nestle's Toll House package is the standby recipe that most people use for chocolate chip cookies, and it's good. However, to make it great, there are some tips and things that you need to learn to make the perfect chocolate chip cookie. So today I'm going to go through the ingredients and I'm going to give you tips as we go through and put everything together and bake them in the oven. I'm going to give you the tips so you know how to make the perfect chocolate chip cookies. So to start with, we need 2 large eggs, 2 teaspoons of pure vanilla extract. Do not buy the imitation vanilla. Make sure you spend a little bit of extra money and get the pure vanilla extract. 1 teaspoon of kosher salt. This is critical. You don't want iodized table salt in your chocolate chip cookies. You want pure salt, which is kosher salt. You want 1 full bag of Nestle's semi-sweet chocolate chip morsels. 2 sticks of butter equals 1 cup. Butter is critical to this. No margarine, no Crisco, nothing but unsalted pure butter. 2 sticks. 1 or a half cup of granulated white sugar. 1 cup of packed brown sugar. A half teaspoon of baking soda. And 2 1/4 cups of flour. The one thing with baking, the amount of ingredients is critical. You can't screw around with the sugars or the butter or anything. Everything has to be exact. This isn't like stir frying something on a stove where you can put in a little of this, a little of that. Baking is critical so the chemistry works properly to bake the cookie in the oven. And behind Jessie, we have the mixer. KitchenAid mixer, 2 cookie sheets lined with parchment paper. That is another trick that'll make your chocolate chip cookies very good, is line the sheets with parchment paper rather than using a cooking spray or anything of that nature. Use parchment paper and of course a cooling rack. So with that being said, we'll start getting everything put together and show you how to do the perfect chocolate chip cookie. Okay, so the first step with mixing the ingredients, first of all, make sure your oven is preheated to 350 degrees, and do that before you start mixing the ingredients so everything, or the oven can be at the proper temperature when you're ready to put the cookies in. Okay, Jessica, what we need to do first is mix the dry ingredients, which would be the flour and the baking soda. So what Jessica's going to do is pour those into this bowl, get a glass bowl, pour them into that bowl. You're going to put 2 1/4 cups of flour into the bowl, along with a half a teaspoon of baking soda. How's that coming, Jess?
Good.
Okay, and then gently whisk this together to combine the baking soda with the flour. Dry ingredients in one bowl, and then we're going to mix the wet ingredients in the KitchenAid mixing bowl, and then combine this with the wet once it's done. Okay, Jessica is going to add the ingredients into the stainless steel mixing bowl of our KitchenAid mixer, and you're going to want to use a paddle mixer, the paddle attachment for the mixer. If you don't have a KitchenAid and you have a handheld mixer, that's perfectly fine, but if you have this, by all means. Okay, Jessica, tell us what you're going to add.
First, you're going to add the 2 sticks of butter.
2 sticks. 2 sticks of butter equals 1 cup.
Put that in. Go.
Okay, and what are you going to add after the butter, Jess?
I'm going to put in the half cup of granulated sugar.
Exactly a half cup white granulated sugar. And then?
Then you're going to add the
1 cup.
1 cup of brown sugar.
Light brown sugar. And you want to make sure when you put the sugar in there that you pack it down in nice and tight. Okay, now go ahead and turn this on for 2 minutes at low speed. So you're going to want to get this this mixed up first, and then we're going to add the eggs. Okay, now when you have a nice fluffy consistency, you'll see there it's a pale white, everything's mixed together, the butter and the sugar are mixed together well. Jessica, tell us what you're going to do now.
Next, we're going to add
1 teaspoon.
1 teaspoon of salt.
Kosher salt. Make sure it's kosher salt, like I said, not table salt. Go ahead. We have 2 teaspoons of
Vanilla extract.
pure vanilla extract. And we're going to pour in the 2 eggs. Go in. Okay, now start off on this on slow speed. And let this mix for about 1 minute. You're going to want to use one of these rubber scrapers to make sure you scrape down the sides to get everything evenly mixed. Mix it for another 30 seconds or so. Okay, so now that we have all the wet ingredients mixed together, we're going to put this on slow speed and a little bit at a time adding in the flour and the baking soda. If you have this set on high speed or throw this in too much, you end up in a big white explosion. So because I like my daughter and I don't want her covered in flour, I will add this slowly. Now this is just a single batch. You can by all means double this, but if you do, make sure you double the ingredients exactly. So I'm going to turn this off for a second. Scrape everything down. You can see a nice cookie dough is starting to form. Scrape down the sides. Get everything mixed nice and completely. Okay, Jess, while I am scraping down this paddle, why don't you grab the chocolate chip cookies or the chocolate chips, I'm going to start stirring those in. Okay, so when we add the chocolate chip cookies, and if you can keep your children from eating them before you, or add the chocolate chips, you can keep your kids from eating them before you put them in the bowl. You're going to clean out this paddle mixer as best you can, get all the dough off. You do not want to add the chocolate chip cookies or the chocolate chips using the paddle mixer because it'll beat the chips and start breaking them up. So go ahead and dump the bag in, Jess. And just give this a nice thorough mix to get the entire bag of chocolate chips evenly mixed through. Okay, now we are ready to start putting this on the cookie sheet. Now this is one tip that will make a big difference in your cookie. We're going to do one tray at a time. If you're in a hurry and you want to do 2 trays at a time, go ahead, but it's much better to do 1 tray at a time for 11 minutes and only 11 minutes. Not 10 minutes and 30 seconds, not 11 minutes and 30 seconds. set your oven at 350 degrees. One tray at a time with a dozen cookies on it, placed on parchment paper. Put it in the oven. Don't open the oven to look at it. 11 minutes, pull it out immediately, set it aside so it can cool for a couple minutes. While that tray is cooling, you can load the next tray. The oven door, once you pull the tray out, shut the oven door, let it build its heat again. This is the purpose of letting the one tray cool, loading the next tray with the cookie dough before you put it in the oven, because this is critical. If you put your next tray in immediately, as soon as you open that door, pull one tray out and go to put another tray in, you let too much heat escape. So if you just pull the tray out, shut the oven door, let the heat come back to 350 degrees, then quickly open the door again, put the new tray in, you have a better temperature consistency. A little bit more, Jess. Okay, so Jesse's adding the cookie dough to the tray. About the size of a golf ball is a good size. There you go. Take a big, like this, Jess. Take a big scoop, like that, and then just slide it off. You want a heaping tablespoon that gives you about the size of a golf ball or a large ping pong ball. Now you'll notice we're putting this tray is lined with the parchment paper. Because of the parchment paper, you won't need, the cookies will come right off of this parchment paper. It's non-stick surface. So we're going to put this right in the center as quickly as possible and set your timer for 11 minutes. And don't touch it. Let it go until the 11 minutes is done, and then it'll be perfect. Okay, so here we are. We were actually in the oven for 15 minutes. I had to adjust the time because we got a little too big on the size of the cookies. So for that larger cookie that we did with that heaping tablespoon, it did require an extra few minutes. And if you've cooked chocolate chip cookies before, you know once they start to turn slightly golden brown, they are done. So depending on the size of your cookie, if we would have just made them smaller, like the size of a ping pong ball rather than a bigger golf ball, they would have been done in 11 minutes. But we are also cooking for real here, cooking on the fly. There's no chances for do-overs in the kitchen of Bravo Charlie's. So I had to adjust the cooking time. But as you can see, with the parchment paper, there is literally no sticking whatsoever. And this recipe is going to make, I already have the other tray in the oven, so 12 are on this tray, 12 on the other tray, and I'll probably get about another 6 or 7 once it's all said and done. So about 32 cookies in a single recipe is what we're going to end up with. But you can see these are a nice, fairly large chocolate chip cookie. Well, thank you for joining us on another episode of Bravo Charlie's. I hope you picked up a few tips on chocolate chip cookies that you didn't know before that make yours perfect. How are they, Jess?
They're good.
And everybody knows you gotta have a glass of milk with chocolate chip cookies, so I think my daughter's gonna be happy here for about 5 minutes, or as long as it takes her to eat all these cookies. So if you like this content, please hit the thumbs up button below, hit the subscribe button to see more videos in the future. And once again, thank you for joining us at Bravo Charlie's.